So I gotta go.
You didn't watch my video? Well, if you haven't watched my video, that's okay. Oh no, you left anyways. Okay, anyways, it's Wednesday, February 22nd, 2017, 2 o'clock my time. As you guys know, I had a video that I've been working on for several days in order to kind of basically give a really quick synopsis of all TrueEmpiricism claims when it came to this whole DNA and water thing, and to kind of show people the different positions he has taken over the last year or so, and what actually really does happen. Because people have been asking me, we don't even understand this. We don't know what really happened, so we don't even know who to believe. Well, what I showed is exactly what happens. No more, really, no less. So I wanted the CCP be able to say to look at that and go, oh, okay, that is what happens, and agree or disagree. And if they disagree, I want to know why. Or obviously, I want to know what they think happens in chemistry or biology that goes against everything that actually does happen. Because Ronnie kept on saying he had books that actually show that everybody else was wrong. I mean, he's like, all my readings have shown that, Fiona's wrong and Steve's wrong and Hawkeye's wrong, but he's never presented any of them. So I don't know what he's actually referring to, but he does claim that, okay, well, DNA degrades in water. Well, okay, where does it actually say any of this? So anyways, I want to have a quick hangout to get you guys' impression if this video did a decent job at going back over much footage, because there was a lot involved here. Getting the highlights of the whole fiasco, and then presenting it in a way where I actually pointed out at the end the 5 or 6 different claims that he actually made, and so he just can't go back and say that he never made these claims or rewrite history as he's been attempting to do. I have unconvertible evidence that that he has actually said that these bonds, particular bonds, break when we know that they don't. Incontroversial evidence, sorry. And I want to see if you guys had the same kind of impression that there's really nothing else he can say about this matter. And I know it's never going to eventually go away, but for the love of God, there's nothing else that can be really said about this. It has been done. It has been shown he's wrong. He can continue to go say that he's right all the time on this, and all you have to do now is just point him to this video and say, hey, look, Steve made this video. It showed all your claims. It showed why all your claims are wrong. There's no question about it anymore, and it's done. But what do you guys think?
Simply speaking, I mean, the bottom line is he said in multiple hangouts, and one hangout I was in, that dissolve and degrade are synonymous terms. To me, that's the end of it. That's the end of the story, because they're not. It's that simple,
right? Well, that's what it should have been, right? I mean, it should have been literally just, no, you're wrong, show them why you're wrong, and move on. But it got compiled daily, just about, by him adding on to the fuckery, saying, oh, well, it degrades this bond, it degrades that bond, oh, it has a dissociation reaction, oh, it's hydrolysis, oh, it's not hydrolysis, oh. I mean, it's just been back and forth to no end of all these different claims he's making, not understanding actually what is going on. That's really another reason why I made the video, to show people what actually does happen, because a lot of people are going, we don't know what happens. Yeah. Well, this is it. That little hydrogen ion comes off, big deal, big fucking deal.
And I think honestly, I think he meant to say dissolve, and I think he said degrade. He then painted himself into a corner, and then he tried to get out of it by using his normal level of word salad.
I actually kind of agree with you on that. But then again, what changed my mind about why maybe that isn't correct, because I thought he did the same thing. I thought he said he meant to say dissolve and he said degrade, and he just didn't want to back out of it. But over the last year or so of his explanations, it really came to light that he doesn't understand what happens. He doesn't understand even the basic concepts of salvation. I mean, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt that he just misspoke and didn't want to say, admit that he made an error to try to save face, but it goes beyond that. I mean, this is him making gross errors that even Obeyology and other people are pointing out as high school level stuff. Nothing in my video is that complicated. I made it very, very simplistic. I mean, I did not try to complicate it up in any way, shape, or form. I just wanted to explain the terms that people are using, and let people see, oh, okay, when it goes into solution, this little hydrogen ion comes off, big deal. It doesn't affect the sugar phosphate backbone. It doesn't affect the phosphodiester bonds. It doesn't affect the glycosidic bonds. And it doesn't matter whether people know these terms or not. At least they know where it's located now. They know, oh, okay, well, that obviously isn't a linkage connection. Doesn't really take that much knowledge to understand that, I would think, correct?
Yeah, because I mean, he was talking about the fact that it broke down the nucleotides.
Yeah, well, he went from the sugar phosphate bond, and then toward the end, he actually had claimed that it broke down the actual nitrogenous bases. He was claiming it would break down the A, T, G, and C's, and it's like, whoa, no. I mean, that's just beyond retarded. So
I mean, you couldn't sequence DNA. Effectively, if that was true, if you got a DNA sample that had been exposed to any form of moisture, you would not get DNA from it.
And that was my point. That was why I put the PCR in there. I was like, look, if this lost its nucleotide sequence or broke apart or disintegrated or broke into its constituent parts, whatever wording he wanted to use, because he used so many different wording to kind of describe the same thing, you could not do a sequencing of it. You could not do a PCR, clearly. And I think even he would agree with that. So
I think the one thing that got left out that would have been really good would have been to say that in a nucleus of a cell, it's in solution.
Sure. Yeah, maybe I could have thrown that in there that clearly, but I mean, to me, I guess it's kind of self-evident, isn't it? I mean, do I have to put that in there?
But you're talking to people who are just ignorant.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I could have gone maybe and said that and said, look, a DNA is dissolved in the cell. And if it was breaking apart, it would be unusable. Good point. Fair enough.
And actually, I want to say thank you to True Empiricism, because over the last year and a half, I've learned more about DNA biology than I have in the last 47 years.
A lot of people have said the same thing.
And Fiona and Drag.
Yeah, a lot of people have said the same thing. That even like Hogtie would have to go back many, many, many years to a lot of this stuff, right? Because you just don't use it. Even Fiona would probably have to go back many, many, many years on some of the basic stuff. And it's just a good refresher, right? Because you don't use this stuff all the time. The really small, minor kind of stuff. And I'm not saying they don't know this stuff. Of course they do, but it's just good refresher. And I think that a lot of people who had never been exposed to anything when it came to DNA now go, oh shit, this is what DNA looks like. Oh shit, this is what they mean by the sugar phosphate backbone. Oh shit, this is what they mean by the nitrogenous bases. So yeah, I agree with you. I think this has actually been a learning experience for people, and I am kind of grateful in a way to True Empiricisms for being stupid.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And glycosidic bond, I hadn't heard of that one before.
Oh, welcome back. I didn't see you sneak in there, buddy.
Yeah, I did. Yes, it's there. Yeah, Steve, great video. You did it in exactly very similar in the style, because I was getting really annoyed with him going on about how he hadn't made mistakes. I was thinking, okay, I'm going to have to make the definitive video, do wads of research, pick out 6 or 7 bits of him talking bollocks and put it together. And then what do I find? A day later, you've done.
I didn't steal the idea from you, honestly. I didn't.
Yeah, I know you didn't. So you did 90% of what I was going to do. So I thought, well done, Steve. That was good. And what more, you didn't sort of just randomly throw in some abuse. You just said, okay, we're going to stick with what he says, attack the science of it, say the new thing he says, attack that, and do a de-explanation, attack the next, get the next citation of his, give a date, attack that, and then some at all the end say, look, these are the things he's wrong about, that he's just claimed in the last 5 videos, and he's never made a mistake about anything. You stupid bastard.
There was a lot of footage to go through.
I bet I said, Steve, you must you caught some bits. You did. I was thinking you must have done a hell of a lot of research there, because you picked up some videos. The original one with Dragnaught that I wasn't aware of. I think all the other ones I was aware of, but I was thinking, oh god, because I think Jade, has got a great document somewhere that I've got a list of all the references to the videos.
Yeah, I have the list. Thank God for that, because I did utilize that.
Yeah, so I thought that was
a lot of footage.
Indeed, so I thought I'm going to have to go through Jade's list, and I've got my own list as well, but it's not as comprehensive as Jade's was. And I think Fiona's got a list as well. And I thought, okay, I'm going to have to go through this, because I'm just so fed up with Trumpism thinking he's getting away with this. And then you did at least 90% of the job there, Steve. So well done. That was very good.
Saved you time. Well,
you did.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
And good explanations. Well, I thought you kept your explanation. You kept your explanation as to much more direct and focused on the issues, or in your explanations of things. You didn't sort of wander off. You kept well focused on your explanations were good as well. So you did all what you did very well all around. I've been a bit reluctant to criticise your previous videos, because I haven't been making any. I thought I can't really have a go at Steve, and I've done bollocks all. So, but no, so that was good.
Well, I'm trying to improve my video quality.
You are. It's good. Oh, by the way, Steve, I love your little moving lines. I think it was in the the previous video, you had some moving lines at the start, rectangles, grey rectangles getting bigger and smaller and moving around a bit, and I thought they were very artistic. So well done for that.
Yeah, I'm trying to do, like I said, I'm doing a little more with the I don't know, the effects, and
So
also my so the voice to text, text to voice. I've been working with that and tweaking it with Audio City, and some other things.
Sorry, that's one thing I didn't like about you. Sorry to interrupt you. The one thing I didn't like was the voice.
Everybody liked it, so you're the only one.
Really?
A lot of people told me they really thought it was. Yeah, I mean, it needs a little work. And
it mispronounced several words like covalent and.
Yeah, I noticed, and
they couldn't do bollocks either.
Well, he was a British.
Well, that was what was funny about it. It reminded me of something. Stephen Hawking lost his voice a long time ago, and he's had that robot voice.
Right.
Yeah.
And they've offered him one with a British accent for a long time.
Right.
That would be cool.
And he won't take it. He says, "No, everybody identifies me with this voice."
Yeah,
and I was willing to hear what it sounds like, and I pretty much figured out that's it when I watched that video.
I've never heard his real voice, so it would be very odd.
He's got he had a really kind of funny voice. It didn't kind of suit his character at the time.
And I'm going to be working on some of the phonetics better, so it does pronounce certain words. I mean, I kind of gave up because it was just it's very difficult to use. Let me tell you, it's not as easy as it would appear. And I probably spent 6 hours just fucking with it, just to get it to do kind of what I wanted. Hell, it butchered a lot of different other words, and I was just breaking it down phonetically, and I'm like, okay, enough.
I have to say,
I'll just practice at it more later.
I have to say, Steve, your narration voice, I mean, your voice now is very fine. You've got an excellent intonation, but when you did that previous video, when you were trying to narrate, you weren't, you did sound a little bit awkward. So you need to improve that. But I just imagine.
It's hit or miss.
I'll narrate one if you send me the script. I try very hard.
Yeah, well, you got a great voice.
Yeah, Jake's got a good voice, hasn't he?
I mean, the main thing when you're sort of speaking, especially when you're doing video or presentation, is just remember to breathe. And especially where you think you're going to have like an or an or something coming in. I mean, that's something I've kind of trained myself to do a lot.
I actually go and I take out some of the breathiness sometimes. Audio City is like the greatest freaking audio program of all time for doing stuff like that, right?
My second point is you shouldn't, as Rumpus already admitted, you shouldn't take any criticism for us because he's already admitted he's the world's laziest physicist.
Yeah, I can't quit. I'm not really entitled to criticize you, Steve.
Can you imagine listening to a video being narrated by Rumpus? He would have like 30 minutes of video in 30 seconds.
I've got 4 videos I'm supposally doing, and I haven't done it.
Faster than anybody I've ever in my life known.
I think the Rumpus is absolutely priceless. So
I love Rumpus. He talks so fast.
I'm actually wondering if he could narrate a video on that without saying the words "fucking idiots" in it.
Yeah, I thought. So yes, Steve, you've done well. You've done well.
He just tries to concentrate it into like 3.5 seconds. You know, you could probably read off the entire Encyclopedia Britannica in about 3 minutes.
I do try and pack too much in. So
I know you do.
Balance just right with yours, Steve. I thought you did an excellent job of detail, and you moved every argument. You started with a simple thing, and then you moved into quite complicated things. You got your glycosidic bond in there, and everything you need to mention, and you're right to the heart of the matter. So I think
it took me about a half hour just for it to pronounce that word. Kind of.
Actually, I keep meaning to ask you, Rumpus, whereabouts in the UK are you?
In the Shires, about sort of 40 miles northwest of London. I think you've asked me this before. I think we're about 20 miles away from one another. I think.
Yeah, because I think you're towards one of the major university cities, aren't you?
You guys don't.
I'm not really made. No, I'm in the. I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not near a major city. No, I'm in the rural. Definitely rural. Some medium-sized towns near me. I think we're about 20 miles apart. So yes.
Yeah.
Brit using miles.
Yeah, we do. Well, we do. Yeah, Steve. We although we have all our science and everything like that is weights and things are done in metricness. When it comes to the road, we work in miles and speeds
and gallons. But we use liters now.
We're used to them. I had liters about 10 years ago. We moved
liters.
But when it comes to distances on roads, we like our miles per hour and our speedometer.
Let me ask you this, Rumpus: when you go to a petrol station, do you look at the liter price and multiply it by 4.65?
Petrol.
No, I don't do that. I've got used to using it.
Gasolina.
We invented the stuff anyway. I think no, we didn't, did we? No,
we kind of are semi-responsible for the imperial system.
Oh yeah, our English. Yeah, you've got our English units. Yes, you call them English units, don't you?
Imperial gallon and a gallon. I don't even remember.
Well, you've got US gallons.
A US gallon is not quite as much as a UK gallon. It's about 4.1 litres to 4.65.
But the odd thing is, just they call their units English units. They don't call them imperial units. They call them English units. So centimeters, inches, and that sort of stuff, pounds. They call that English, unit, which is a little bit odd. But anyway, and of course they're the only country in the world now that uses them, and of course causes them to lose bloody rockets going off to Mars because they didn't get their bloody inches and metric system to talk to one another.
That was pretty amazing that they didn't recognize they were using two different systems. You would think that these smart people would recognize that half of them were using metric and the other half were using standard.
There actually have been so many transatlantic engineering projects where people have read it in meters and centimeters when it's actually done in feet and yards. So many.
NASA have now, I think NASA have said they will not use any software that uses imperial units.
Yeah, they're purely
metric. They need to be formalized. I mean, standardized. They need to go. And I mean by standardized, I mean metric. But yeah, I agree.
Let's face it, you have 4.0 and 5.0 litre cars, so suck it up.
Yeah, you've got CC for cars.
5.0 liter. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when did American cars go from being cubic inches to CCs, or was always a mixture?
I don't know. It used to be horsepower.
No, but capacity. I mean, there are some cars that you talk about in 47 cubic inches or something instead of CCs.
Yeah.
Something.
But I think that's
right.
like
Yeah,
50s, 60s, and then I think in the 70s they started.
I'm thinking of force because I'm thinking of foot force pounds. Used to be that's what I meant because horsepower it used to be foot force pounds. Do you remember that? Way back when.
We don't use horsepower.
It's like 550 foot force pounds to horsepower or something.
Yeah, we
I don't remember the conversion.
So if you look at a bike and you look at because I'm a bike and not a car person, so hence why.
Oh, you got a bike, have you? All right.
Yeah, I'm about to get another one. So I killed my last
one. How powerful?
Last bike I had was VFR 750.
Bloody hell! Right, okay, no messing.
But yeah, I used to like really, really fast bikes. I've had sort of ZZR 1200.
I used to go around the team with a team of about 15 people, and when I was about 18 or so on bikes, and about 16 of them had damage, got either run over, hit, lost bits of arms, legs, feet,
lost bits.
And I was only one of two people who didn't have an accident on the road. But I managed to take my bike onto the tracks and then break my collarbone running around on the tracks. But at least I didn't have an accident on the road. But bloody hell, most of them did. So be careful, Druss. It's dangerous.
I've had loads of accidents. I'm designed to bounce well.
That's not good, Druss. It's not going to keep on going. You really ought to watch that.
Jade, are you there?
You guys realize that no matter.
I can't. Wow.
You're breaking up, Jade, horribly.
Horribly.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
You guys do realize that no matter how many videos we make, Ronnie will still disagree with reality.
But pretty much, I think, right. But I don't think I didn't make this for him. I mean, I made it for him to at least understand what really happens because he doesn't. But I made it for the CCP and other people that go, okay, what's really happening and what is Ronnie claiming? I mean, there's no way he could convince anybody that has watched my video that he's right. I don't see how it can be possible unless they are so goddamn more stupid than he is.
Well, once he gets done eating at Popeyes, he's going to make a video and he's going to show you why.
It's going to be much more difficult for him to refute this one because Steve has really gone hard on the science and he put a lovely summary at the end that can't be misunderstood of the mistakes, the claims he made, and the refutations, which was absolutely critical.
What's funny of the original video that sparked all of this was like almost like a year and a half ago, where it's funny because he claimed that he was going to correct all the mistakes that I made, and then thereafter I corrected some of my own mistakes, and then other people corrected me. At no given time has he corrected any of the mistakes, and mind you, I've made mistakes. And I think Jade and Steve were talking about it in the comments below, where I meant to say mixture instead of solution, but then I described it as immiscible, even though I used the wrong term. But
no, sorry, Ronnie doesn't make mistakes.
Yeah, that's. But
I noted that, right? Because a mixture is, if I take a bunch of marbles and I stick it in water, that's a mixture.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's two different solids in there, but they're not in solution together. Okay, that's the difference between a mixture and a solution. Oil and water is not a solution because oil doesn't.
It's a mixture.
It's insoluble, right? So I knew what you meant, but I think the bigger picture was you were just trying to explain to him that you could reuse the oil afterwards, just like
I think Drag did okay there actually.
Yeah,
I
I blame you for other things. Sorry, I blame Dragnot for starting this whole fiasco with him in the fucking first place.
I did
No,
not.
I want to thank Drag. I want to thank Drag specifically for starting this because it's made me learn about glycosidic bonds and goodness knows what.
I think
How is this?
Yeah, I second the rumpus.
Well, it's funny because I'm actually working
Can anybody
on.
hear me?
Yeah,
we
there,
go, Jade.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I'm
I
actually.
just wanted to say that probably the best example of a mixture is if you take, you know, the old-fashioned salad dressing where you mix oil and vinegar.
Yeah.
They don't mix, but if you shake, I mean, they don't meld well into each other. But if you shake them up, right?
Yeah.
You get one thing. That's a physical mixture. But if you let it sit, then the oil will rise. They will separate again.
It's an emulsion.
Well, no, emulsion would be like mayonnaise is emulsion. That's
emulsion would stick together.
Yeah, an emulsion is a bigger like a colloidal.
Mayonnaise.
Yeah.
It's a temporary emulsion, perhaps you might think of it as.
Yeah, that would be a good way to look at it. Is it like a temporary emulsion?
Easiest way to see that mayonnaise as an emulsion is just leave it out in the air for a while and watch the color it turns.
Then eat it and die.
Steve, how many hours did you spend researching that? Because I think you picked out about 70%.
Probably more than 12.
Right, okay, it doesn't surprise me because I think you got about 80% of the videos I've used and the ones that listed by Jade in her list of Fiona's notes. And I thought you picked up basically enough to make it a fantastic case.
And that's the whole thing. I wanted to narrow it down to
you did well there.
I mean, even the video with like Hogtie, the Hogtie and TrueEmpiricisms Salvate the World, which I think is an amazing video. There's just so much in there that I really just had to get the highlight. And I think Hogtie's explanation with the whole linchpin, that was one of the highlights, and Ronnie just not getting it and thinking that the hydrogen ion came off that O on with the ester bonds on either side. And of course we know that that's not what it happens. And he was confused there, I think.
Actually, that's one part of the video that I didn't quite agree with you. I don't think at that point in the discussion he was talking about the phosphodiester bond. That really.
Well, if you watch the video, he was. Matter of fact, Hogtie made it very clear. Hogtie sussed it out and said, "Are you talking about this bond here?" And he's like, "Yeah, I think that's what I'm referring to." And then he's like talking about the stability of the molecule. And obviously, the only thing that's with the stability of the molecule would be the bonds in the sugar phosphate.
It's just amazing how much he wandered around. I mean, there was one you caught some excellent clips where he said, "I'm talking about the phosphodiester bond." He said quite specifically, and then we know that doesn't break. And the number of times he made constituent parts and the monomers and the nuclear sequence, losing the sequence, and all this sort of stuff. It's just hammered it home superbly. So
that's why I didn't want I wanted people to know what a monomer was. When he means constituent parts, that would be a monomer. That's what he's saying, and obviously that's not the case.
Well, I think you should probably try a different avenue. Get the people who are always in his fucking comments, always going, "Good job, brother," sucking his fucking dick, and address them in a video and say, "What is Ronnie saying? What have you learned, and how has he demonstrated his point to you?"
I can actually sum that up in one short phrase, and it's called irreducible stupidity.
Irreducible stupidity. Yeah, no, they haven't learned anything, and I could ask them that, but there's no response. Drag. I mean, there's just nothing they answer because there's nothing to answer. I just want all of them to see though how wrong he is, and so if they ever bring it up to you guys, you just refer back to the video and go, "Look, there's what are you disagreeing with here? Please tell me what are you disagreeing with Steve with? Because I'd really like to know. What do they think happens?"
I can well understand why you made the video, Steve. The number of times you mentioned you didn't understand the issues as well as he did. In your position, I'd have been jumping up and down, said, "Right." I mean, I was getting angry enough, thinking I've got to make a video.
Oh yeah, the science was easy. That took no research whatsoever, except maybe finding some clips that I wanted.
Trying to parse the bullshit that comes out of his mouth. Just doing that alone takes time. It took me almost a week after I made the transcript.
Yeah, I mean, shit. Yeah, I mean,
damn.
it is hard for me to understand what he says. I'm so glad you did that, because I've thought about doing that, but he's so incoherent.
Yeah.
That it's difficult to figure out what he says. Even as Drag said, if you type it out, and I've done that before, you type it out, and that little passage, that comment that he keeps showing a screenshot of, he doesn't even realize that is incoherent.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
He thinks that makes sense. It makes no sense.
Yeah, in his mind it does.
Whatsoever.
There's also the pronunciation part where he has never heard of a word before, like Le Chatelier principle, and he's going to read it in a certain way because it's the first time that he's reading that word, and then he throws in a discussion, and he sounds stupid because...
Oh, I forgot, Le Med students, you're French. When he said that, did you know what he was referring to?
No, I didn't know because you guys speak French with weird stuff like you don't use the like in French. There's a city in Chicago called Des Moines or Des Moines. Okay?
Yes, they call it Des Moines, don't they?
Des Moines, and in French it means des moines, which means some monks. But it's in Americanized pronunciation of foreign words, so it's kind of fun. But
I just wanted to say to the Med, pardonnez-moi, je ne parle pas en français. Well, that's even wrong.
The thing
you know what
about,
I mean.
I know how to say one thing in French, and it'll get me slapped in the wrong situation.
The Ronnie's incoherence, unfortunately, is a means of him getting out of situations, because we have to work out what the bloody hell he means, because he doesn't understand what he's thinking about. He then says something that he doesn't understand. Then we have to try and understand what he's trying to say, and then put meaning to it, and then we come back and say this is what's wrong with it. But unfortunately, because it's such incoherent gibberish which you've had to piece together, he can quite easily come back and say, no, I didn't mean that, what you said. Because it's so incoherent and ambiguous, he then has an option of coming back and saying, no, you misunderstood it, because of course it's gibberish. And so unfortunately, the incoherent nature of his text does allow him to sort of root out and saying, I didn't mean that, no, you misunderstood me. But of course, because everybody would.
Well, and that's what was behind the whole thing with Sam. He keeps saying, I corrected Sam. Sam was wrong. Yeah. No, Sam didn't understand what the hell you were talking about. But not only that, he still got it wrong, even with what he doesn't understand that part of it. Fiona's mentioned that to him a number of times, and I forget exactly what it is he got wrong there. But Sam didn't know what part of
when he was referring to VATPAs instead of ATPAs, and so he got the two enzymes confused. And so poor old Sam, he said he was talking about one, but in fact he was referring to another. So poor old Sam, of course, was being faced with the description of one enzyme, given the structure of another, and then not understanding what the hell was going on. So naturally,
he didn't know the difference between FATPases and VATPases, and he just threw them all together because he got the term off of Wikipedia.
Yeah.
The 1688 proteolipid.
Let's not forget
that's right off of Wikipedia.
Pity you couldn't have thrown in the kilodaltons thing as one of your things. But no, you did well. No, you didn't make the right decision. I'm just saying it's another possibility.
He did get that right off of Wikipedia, just like he did everything else. Everything he's learned is off Wikipedia. I mean, listen to the phrasing he uses is right off Wikipedia. But he's so vague that he can claim that he never meant that. He did that with the whole. When I asked Dr. Ross and Rana, or especially Rana, the first time I asked him about DNA, he's like, "Oh, well, Steve misrepresented my position." The fuck I did.
Oh, sorry, Steve. One thing I think you should have done, which I would have done in my video, my hypothetical superb video that I haven't done, would be to hone in on his claims, because we remember he did try and have a get out by saying that he wasn't talking about room temperature, and we had this big chat. If you remember when I got him pinning down about, was it 2 months ago, when I said you were in discussion with Fiona about room temperature. Degrade, because he's used before now this idea that using that table we found that at 75 degrees C it goes off, whatever it was, degrades, and at 70, was it 95? I can't remember how many.
It was 20 and 95, wasn't there something?
And it was in a reasonable time scale. So you want to make sure. So I would have pinned him down saying, because he was talking with Fiona, particularly the one that you cited, that video in which he was discussing with Fiona using room temperature, dissolving DNA in a glass of water. and there she was then able to then subsequently use it and heat it. So that point, that was the discussion. He was telling her, and that discussion when she was using room temperature solutions, that it was degraded, and he's tried to get out subsequently that it was, he was talking about when it's at 95 degrees C, when we do in fact know that it does degrade within I can't remember how long it takes that sort of temperature, but there was within a reasonable time frame. So you could have pinned down that, but you could also improve on things. So that was good.
But Rumpus, it's a well-known fact that people in Illinois really like their houses hot.
Right. 2,000 degrees hot.
I'm trying to figure out, like, how does he think that we do like tomorrow I'm going to be doing the nested PCR portion of
yes.
I'm going to be taking pictures, by the way, of me doing PCR in a lab. But how does he think that we do this? Like, I'm genuinely curious how, even when he's talking about temperature, I don't think he knows the upper limit as to where DNA just starts to denature.
Yeah. Well, he also gets confused. This is where I think a lot of it stemmed from. He kind of, I think, understood that at higher temperatures, it will break the hydrogen bonds and it will separate, right? It'll melt. I think
Stevie didn't. Don't forget when Rational Mind pointed out to him in one of his hangout about 3 months ago, he slagged Rational Mind off, saying, no, it's not going to come apart in the middle. He actually, and then subsequently a week or so afterwards, then used Rational Mind's suggestion that was where the splitting was. So
that might be true. That might be true. That might be true. But to make my point real quick, though, he understood that, or he's at some point, I think you're probably right. Eventually down the line, he understood that it would come down, break down the middle. And he thinks that still is some kind of degradation.
Yeah, that was much later, Steve.
Yet, if you lower the temperature and have them brought back together to anneal it, then it'll be right back to where it was. And that's the whole point of doing a PCR.
Like, quick stupid question. Sorry, Jade. This is just a drag, and it's really quick and really stupid. But DNA is held within the nucleus of a cell, yes?
Within the nucleolus, within
eukaryotes, yeah.
And what's it floating about in?
Cytoplasm.
Just mainly comprised of water.
No, hold on. Sorry, drag. It's not. Sorry, cytoplasm surely is outside the nucleus, isn't it?
It's
cytosol. Excuse me.
No. Cytosol is outside the nucleus as well.
I'm just trying to work out.
No, hold on. Yeah. Cytoplasm is cytosol plus the internal organelles outside the nucleus, and cytosol is just the liquid part outside, without including the organelles. And cytoplasm includes the organelles, but neither of which are inside the nucleus. So
I thought, why not? I thought cytosol is just anything inside the cell itself. And then cytoplasm is a cytosol with the organelles, as you said.
I would love to find out if basically DNA is floating in a solution that is predominantly water. I think that just would be class.
He claims
it is.
It is.
But he claims there are salts and things inside the nucleus that mean it retains its integrity. That was one of his claims.
Why would it need to do that?
So that's why he goes about pure water being different. He claims that inside the nucleus there are salts in there that maintain the integrity of DNA, but when you put it in pure water, it will then degrade and break down to its constituent.
But if you've got salts in the water, then that's going to lower the pH value of the water, isn't it?
No, that doesn't affect pH necessarily. Salts don't change the pH.
I thought salts were an alkaline base.
No, salt is a combination of an acid and alkaline. When they come together, for something like sodium chlorine, one is acid and the other ones, they come together to form a salt, which is neutral. That's the definition of a salt. It's a combination of an acid and an alkaline.
Sorry, my chemistry was mainly revolving around working out how to make cake gunpowder when I was a child.
Well, that's time well spent, just because I did the same.
And I use cake gunpowder specifically.
Oh, right. Okay. That's
I just look at a salt as if you put an acid and a base together, what's going to happen? You're going to produce a salt, right? Because they neutralize each other.
Yeah, so base actually Steve's correct to use the word base rather than alkali. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, base alkali, whatever.
Yeah,
base you're correct, Steve. It's base rather than alkali, actually.
Yeah.
Steve, can you broadcast broadcast Rational Mind? Because I could have sworn that the inside of the nucleus has to be filled with cytosol. Excuse me, because I use cytosol and cytoplasm erroneously interchangeably when you are actually right. It does include the organelles with the cytoplasm. Cytosol is just the aqueous solution, which is mostly comprised of water.
Yeah, cytoplasm is cytosol with the organelles.
And in order for there to be any type of movement inside the nucleolus, there would have to be a medium in which it does that, which would be
you're talking about nucleus. Suddenly you're talking about nucleolus. That's different from a nucleus.
It's inside the nucleus.
Right.
Yes, right. But that's not relevant to us. DNA is inside the
Let me
nucleus,
say-
not nucleolus.
It's called nucleoplasm.
There we are. I didn't think it was
nucleoplasm, that works. Yeah, because you obviously need a fluid because you've got some kind of transport system, right? You need a transport, even have the RNA could go out of the molecular
but it's
transport
not
system,
called
so,
cytoplasm.
I think she's right.
One more thing. Sorry, go ahead.
The plasm is right. It's just nucleoplasm. Just think of it that way.
There you go.
Cyto means cell, so cytoplasm is the cell plasm in that sense.
Yeah, outside the nucleus. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you just think of it that way, you'd be fine.
Something else that I just realized is that shows that Ronnie never been to a chemistry class. Is that he talks about pure water. Nobody talks about
magical, doesn't he?
You talk about deionized water or DI water when you're in the lab. You never say stuff like pure water.
Yeah.
That's because Ronnie's never actually gone to a chemistry class. He went to an alchemy class.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. I mean, you don't necessarily pure water. You're going to talk about the type of water you're using. I mean, what's the different names? That's very expensive water that's deionized and denucleated. I don't remember the name of it, but
that's what Fiona goes on about it, doesn't she?
I don't. What is it? Drag might remember the. But I mean, it's not cheap shit, right? I mean, it's
we call it sterile water, but I know there's a name for it.
There's a name for it.
It comes from Biorad, the company Biorad.
Yeah, you got to buy it. Yeah, you just don't go to your tap and
it's very. I think but sure, it's valid to call that very, very pure, isn't it? I know. Who was it was slagging it off? I think that is called that they call that as a purity of 99.99% or something, isn't it? It's purity. So it is, you're allowed to call it pure there, aren't you?
I don't say you can't call it that, but I mean, if you read a paper and it's talking about water, you kind of assume that this means
yes.
water.
That's that case, yes.
Not a solution, not a mixture, and that's how Ronnie was reading this one paper that one time. He's like, well, it says water, but how do you know it's pure water? It's like, well,
I heard that. I was like,
it could have arsenic in it or something. Yes, I don't think so.
Strange.
Hey, Steve, I got a glass of pure water here on my desk. I didn't add any Kool-Aid to it.
But it's not pure water, though, is it?
But I didn't add any Kool-Aid to it, did I?
Right, but it's not pure because you've got all kinds of shit in there.
Calcium in there, calcium ions, God knows what in there. Bit of arsenic thrown in.
You know, they might make the point that sometimes that like, well, you can never really truly have pure water, and maybe okay, for the sake of argument, right? You probably don't, but I mean, when you're dealing with 99.999, it's pretty close enough, right? I mean,
Jay, what are you saying?
I was just going to say I have some water here. It has these little leaves floating in it. Of course, the leaves are in little bags, and it's very tasty.
I was going to say there for a minute, Jay, you might want to call a plumber if you got leaves in your pipes.
No, I just put it in there. No, I was also going to say earlier, I don't know if you guys noticed it, when Ronnie first came up with some of this crap, I did a little cartoon, and I just recently reposted it.
Oh, yeah, I love your little cartoon, Jade. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so, and because I posted that one, and then the thing is this whole thing just caused all kinds of fuss in the CCP, because Nephilim Free tried to justify what Ronnie was saying, and then he bollocksed it up too. See, he came up with his version of how DNA came about. So of course I couldn't resist, and I did a cartoon of Nephi's version.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Oh, it's a Nephi one, right? Nephi's done it as well.
And I could have got into actually the whole thing about him talking about DNA and the world hypothesis thing, and I know that's in my title, and I worded it that way for a reason, but I didn't really want to go into what his argument was about DNA in the primordial thing. That's a separate video. That's a whole different thing.
You got it just right, Steve.
That would take another hour to do.
Yeah, you got it just right. You kept it well focused there, so that people know that's the subject matter is his claims about DNA degrading water and nothing else. So you got that. I think you got that exactly right with the length and the focusing on the subject matter ruthlessly. So you did that just right.
I was hoping I could get C. Brown to help me with some of this genetic stuff.
Oh, Drag, I've been meaning to do that question, the one that you set him. I keep thinking I must go away and do it, because it's just a probability issue. So even I, who hasn't done anything, a degree or anything in biochemistry or whatever, I'm sure I could. It looked like a simple, quite good at sorting out probabilities. So I want to have a go at that. I haven't looked at Rational's answer, so I'm going to have a go at your little question, hopefully, some stage. And,
give
it a go.
Definitely do. Don't do what C. Brown did and try and Google it and get it off the website.
That is comedy gold. Drag, you have inspired so many comedy gold
God, that
things.
was funny.
DM with drag, with teeing in his DNA and water. Now that C. Brown thing, you've got a real knack for getting them going.
Well, and that's what I'm wondering what the next major faux pas is going to be, and not just people misspeaking, but I mean actually assertions of things. I'm wondering what's next.
Yeah, because when he did the electron transport chain, he came up with the oxygen donating electrons.
That's the thing I'm going to do, by the way.
And every 2 months, we thought we couldn't believe it when he kept on reaffirming his opinion and saying how wrong we were and how he was going to make a video about how wrong we were. And then I thought, I can't believe he's doing this again. We've only got just.
That's my next video. I'm going to explain electron transport chain. Drag and I have gone over that a few times.
You're doing everything okay.
Well, I mean, Ronnie's always like, they don't understand it. I mean, Drag was learning this a while back, and we were sitting in an off air, just talking, and we're going over this stuff, and we're okay. Yeah, this is this. I mean, we got the basic understanding of what ETC is because I've had it before, and he's learning it. I think I can explain it pretty well.
Yeah, I'll vouch for that, Steve. You gave an off-the-cuff explanation, including things like ubiquinone, I think it is the one that goes from the first stage to the second stage. Do you even remember that off the top of your head when we were discussing it for the first time before TrueEmpiricism went on about it? So yeah, I was quite impressed you knew that from your ancient history.
Yeah, because that was the one that transfers one of the electrons. I think it's from like number 1 to number 3 or something.
Number 1 to number 2, I think.
Well, I don't know. Is it number 2? Because number 2, I get two is usually confusing because 2 is the only one that doesn't add an electron. To the whole,
yes, I might be wrong. Yeah, well, I get confused about whether 2 or 3 is the one that they don't mention.
Yeah.
We don't talk about.
Yeah, and so I'm going to explain, coenzyme Q10, explaining the iron cores. And I want to get a little more detail on it because this basic one I did here, it was to somebody who didn't even know what a solution was. But I think. I want to be able to explain electron transport. What happens? What is he talking about when it comes to ATP, and why is that related to the electron transport chain?
I think that's an excellent idea, Steve. It's just the right length of subject again, which you can focus on and point out where he cocked up. And I think that's very good, exactly like this previous video.
Yeah, and then we'll get to the very end where he's just like, okay, well, the oxygen gets oxidized because it's losing electrons.
Remember, he didn't say that though.
I know he didn't say. Yeah, no. I will say right now, he never said oxygen gets oxidized. But when he says oxygen loses electrons,
but
what else would you take away from that, Rumpus?
Yeah, exactly. There's a name for that process that he described of electrons donating electrons. We've got a very definite name for that.
That's like saying I'm walking extremely fast at 15 miles an hour, but that's not running.
Raising my knees up in the air and everything. Yes. So
that's my next project. But again, these things take very, very long time to do.
Exactly, so. Steve. No, I think that'd be fantastic.
I'm not following you. I'm preceding you with negative distance.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way they look at things. Perfect. But I'm enjoying making these types of videos. I wanted that one to be something, as a test thing to see how well that voice thing would work and everything else. And I think I can get it to work even better. If I can explain things where even like the most unscientific among us can go, oh shit, I understand that. Yeah, shit. Okay, that's a monomer. I get that. Oh shit. Yeah, nucleotides. I understand. So if I can do that with that, electron transport chain may be a little more complicated, but I won't have a problem. I don't think explain to the average person if they care, right? And the other reason is if they care is the fact that he's so much in his ATP synthase. Well, what does that actually mean? Well, what is ATP synthase in relationship to ETC? Because I don't think he even understands the relationship, because I sure the hell don't think he understands Krebs cycle or any of that shit that he's just throwing that out there as if he's some kind of bio expert on it. It's like, no, Ronnie, you keep on getting these mistakes, huge mistakes.
Yeah, because he didn't understand that ATP could be synthesized in different parts of the cycle, did he?
Right, exactly. And that was my point to him. Is like, he thinks that ATP synthesis is the only way ATPs can be synthesized. Well, clearly that's not right. Clearly.
Yeah, he got half of that wrong. I think when that description he gave, I think half of the things he said were wrong. So you've got lots of material there and also lots of good videos actually on that process, Steve. So I think in fact we went through this, didn't we, on one hangout about 2 months ago, and we went through a couple of the Wikipedia page and things, and there's quite a good few videos I went to look after that, and because I think actually you in fact got confused about what was rotating and what wasn't at one point, and we then had to go and check.
At one time, real quickly, the F1 and F0, I for some reason interchange them, occasionally.
And of course, I keep on calling it F. Yeah, you keep.
But it's the F1 catalytic core that he's referring to.
Yeah, because I get confused about. I thought it was like everybody's a bit a novice in this. I called it F0, but you corrected me. It's F0. I'm still confused by that because
not F0. FO. I'm sorry. See.
Yes, sorry. Yes, that's my point. Yes, that's right.
It stands for liglamide or something, if I remember correctly.
Right, because I keep on getting that wrong, and then you corrected me. So yeah, that sort of thing.
Yeah, because I mean, I guess you can call it F0 or F0, because he keeps calling it F0, but the technical thing is it's FO because of oliglamide, which is an inhibitor of ATP synthesis.
Right, and also very difficult to say.
FO because that would normally stand for Foreign Office and anything in the UK.
It is a subscript, fortunately.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, if I want to get that technical, I mean,
a fellow countryman.
I just want to be able to explain the different complexes and how the electrons go across, how it produces that proton gradient, right? Because he keeps on saying that the proton gradient moved, right? The gradient goes through the shaft or something, whatever. And I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know what you mean by this, Ronnie. That the
I've forgotten that. I've forgotten that, Steve.
The protons go through that because of the gradient, which means the differential in concentration of something, right?
Yeah.
And he's just like Jade was saying, trying to parse the fuck out what he's meaning is just ridiculous. Sure, I mean, I say a lot of strange things, and I correct myself because I'm playing WoW and actually talking at the same time. So of course, I might say things odd, but I at least recognize going, oh shit, no, that's not right. Ronnie fucking doesn't have a clue.
Yeah.
But you know the video I think at the moment that you've made recently that it actually has had the biggest single impact on causing an awful loss of debate in G+.
What's that?
And that was the Mary Schweitzer interview.
What do you mean by the greatest amount of debate? Or
well, it's the number of people that are now taking up the look at the they found blood in dinosaurs kind of thing, and going down that route, and then say, and she's so desperate to preserve the scientific paradigm. She's claiming iron preserved it. Why doesn't iron do this elsewhere and the rest of it?
And yet, what was the first question I asked her?
You clarified very clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When she said, what career?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been quite funny because there have been a number of threads I've been on where they've been discussing this, and I said, well, this and other. So I said, you're accusing another Christian of being a deliberate liar, deliberately deceiving you, and deliberately betraying what you think is the correct form of faith.
Yeah, no, and I love the fact that Jade came right out of the gate with that particular question.
Yeah,
I mean,
beautiful.
that was awesome. Yeah, I know that's one of my favorite videos. I mean, I really enjoyed that one because I think her just actually coming in, just literally is coming in to talk to us. That's a huge thing. I mean, because she doesn't grant interviews often. She hasn't in a very long time, and I understand why, because she doesn't want to be taken out of context, and she has real work to do. She is a real scientist, right? So
also,
I
she
understand that.
pointed out she wasn't that familiar with the medium. She's not. She made it clear she's not that computer literate.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, you got the impression that she'd just been beavering away in the lab, and she was desperate to get back to the lab to carry on a bit more beavering.
Yeah.
Well,
I know she enjoyed herself. I know she liked it.
There was an article someone pulled up saying, and this, contravenes what she said, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, actually, you just read the press release and not the actual paper itself. And I said, I actually know of this guy. He's a professor at Imperial College London, and I can give you his email address and his direct line telephone number if you'd like to go and ask him.
Wow.
And nothing was the answer I got back.
Naughty boy dress.
Yeah.
You slap them down.
I'm surprised that video hasn't gotten more traction than it has. I'm assuming that it may at one point, but it probably get, like I said, after more people see it, they can reference it as to exactly what she was saying about, oh, I didn't even have a career at the time. Well,
Yeah.
you know, so
I've been referencing that video on a number of different threads.
And she laughed at when I mentioned that, oh crap, my mind just went, you know, what's his name? Her advisor was a big meanie.
Yes,
Because,
yes.
you know,
Oh, God,
and I deliberately put it that way because that's one of the things people are saying, that he forced her to do this, that, and the other thing. She just laughed at that, you know.
Yes, I'd heard that. Yes,
But
I'd read
Jade,
that as well.
is that a term that's used often in academia? Big meanie.
Yes, actually it is. Yeah. Although sometimes the word blue is inserted there as in a big blue meanie.
Mm.
Some
I
of you will
love that
miss
film, by the
reference.
way, Jade.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to say, so somebody got the reference. Yeah.
Love, sweet love.
well, all I know is Apologia liked my video, and that is a huge thing because, again, I am not a videographer, right? I am not a video person. I don't have the talent in JavaScript. I'm not these guys that fucking do, Lucas Arts shit, right? I mean, I just barely can make a video, but I'm trying to go for content and information more than anything else. That's kind of like what my goal is going to be.
But it's like that post I put into the thread that you're on, Steve, where I said, you know, the main difference between one side of the argument and the other is the number of times we've admitted, oh God, we made a mistake. And we've corrected that mistake. You know, and there is never any mistake. You know, no one ever says, oh gosh, yeah, I did misunderstand that. I see where you're coming from. And it's that's why I agree with Mehmed. You'll never change their views because they are incapable of accepting anything in their view could be wrong.
Yeah,
there's another factor as well, which is just like what you see in politics in US with Trump. The pro-Trump people are putting information that is contrary to reality, and the people who follow him believe what he says, and everybody else is a liar. And I think it's the same thing with the CCP. Like what Ronnie says and what people say in their group are telling the truth, and everybody else are liars, right?
Well, Ronnie is the science guy. He's a CCP science guy.
I think it's you defend what they're saying regardless, not that it's necessarily true.
Right.
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, that's probably true. You know, they have to make they have to make sure that their own people are like, oh, they're right no matter what. And that's why I'm asking them, okay, what makes Ronnie correct on this? I mean, we're a bunch of like vicious assholes to each other in our community. I mean, if we're wrong on something, we'll be like, hey, look, Jade, look what Jade said. She's so fucking stupid. You know, we do it out of love, right? I mean, we all correct each other. We're used to it. But with them, they can never take correction ever. It's not possible.
But I think this goes back to the fundamentalist view of scripture, where they have to defend every single line and word.
Well,
and
yeah,
this almost seems to be then being recreated around, you know, the scientific argument that they're trying to promote. You know, they have to defend every line, sentence, and word.
And yet it makes no sense to do that. There is no way on earth you can defend every single line of the Old Testament, especially. You can't.
No.
And they have to go through the most incredible gymnastics to do it. On top of which, if you're a Christian, you're not under the Old Covenant. You're not under the rules from that. You know, the Christ and everything that came afterward is important. So why, you know, even the early church fathers didn't take that stuff literally. St. Augustine didn't take Genesis literally. But they feel for some reason they have to. I mean, I'll hear people argue that it's really a snake in the Garden of Eden, even though that's just one translation. It's not really an accurate translation. It's not a snake as in that thing that, you know, slithers around and is related to lizards. It's not.
Which is like a monster, like a dragon.
Yes, it's exactly. It's not literally a snake any more than, you know, the tree is, you know, well, the apple thing just kind of got
Hey, Jade.
Like I drew that picture for drag, like his avatar.
Yeah.
That's like a serpent.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, MP, I'm just going to mute you because I'm getting an echo off you.
Hey, Jade. Does it
Mm-hmm.
actually matter if it's a snake or not?
No, it doesn't really matter. But when they insist it is, there's where the problem comes in.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Just
And I
like,
have to agree, it doesn't matter. Right. I don't care
no,
one
it
way.
doesn't really matter. You know.
I think the word is emphatic. That's what they are about.
Yeah. It has to be. Well, look at them try to twist things like the rules of slavery. Why can't you just accept that at a certain time and place people enslaved others?
Okay, time out. Can we at least have
that.
one hangout where we don't bring up G-Man?
We didn't. That was more Beckel than G-Man.
I can't believe you brought up the G word.
She was really talking about Beckel more than anything else.
Yeah, I wasn't going to do that. I'm just talking about slavery, which or rape in the Bible, rather than just admit that these were primitive people who had certain beliefs that we no longer accept, and that if anything, those codified laws were try to make things a little bit better than perhaps their neighbors were.
I do have a question for Pseudo. What about G-Man?
Well, just real quick before that.
Sorry, Project. I was listening.
Just because somebody mentions the CCP and slavery and idiocy doesn't mean they're necessarily talking about G-Man.
Okay, true.
Somebody talks
But
about
it does greatly point in that direction.
I wasn't even thinking of G-Man.
I didn't think of G-Man either. I thought of Beckel. Sorry.
Yeah.
I've never heard Beckel actually make these arguments. It's always been from
If
G-Man.
I said to Pseudo, so you don't agree with slavery, but do you own a credit card? That would have been G-Man.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
It's just that they all bring that up. It's not just G-Man. It's Droopy Drawers. It's Matt Slick. It's all these evangelists who evangelists, and most of them are have little education, which I find just astonishing.
Oh, come on, Matt Slick can't even get organized enough to water his lawn.
Oh, I know, but I'm used to upbringing. I'm used to dealing with religious figures who had years of education, and you get these people who pick up a Bible, they read it, and suddenly they're an evangelist and they know all this crap, but they don't.
Druss, you do know that credit card argument is quite good because owning a credit card does take away all personal autonomy.
Okay, elaborate.
There is a point to where you're coming from, and I do understand that because it's about the form of.
I'm joking.
He's joking. He's joking. Just
actually, because you are contracting into debt.
But it increases your autonomy. You could buy a car and drive for Uber.
Yeah. Or you could do what I did about sort of 15 years ago and cut up your credit cards and chuck them in the bin because you don't need them.
Yeah, I don't use it. Yeah,
I've never had one.
I had a credit card in.
Or you can use the credit card instead of carrying cash and pay it off every month like you're supposed to.
That's
but we know it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not a fan of credit cards. I don't use them. So
I'm not either. I have a debit card. Yeah. That's it.
I pointed out to G-Man the Scientology clergy called the Sea Organization, people who work 100 hours a week for less than $50,
right,
and who are brutalized and things like that. I'm like, if you want to point out slavery in the United States, you should probably point out an actual fucking example.
Except that if you want to use them as religious slaves, sure, I get the analogy, but they're free to leave any time, but they will be ostracized.
They are not really free. They're technically free to leave, but they have to route out, or they're harassed, or they get.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's a process. I get that. It is some type of slavery in some regard that way, sure, but they do sign up for it, and they're always getting them out of it. But
with the credit card, that wouldn't be slavery, but rather indebted servitude.
They're not even indebted.
Because, well, you create debt with it, so you're indebted to the credit card.
Servitude,
but it's because you chose
trade.
to sign up. You did not have it forced upon you.
Yeah.
Right.
But the point being that I think Jade is absolutely right. Is they just need to admit that, hey, back then they did some fucked up shit. Okay, then just move on. Right.
She is absolutely right there. That's the thing. It's like they want to like equate the way they talked about slavery in the Bible with what would be an analogous situation today. Like if you get yourself into a situation where you don't have a lot of autonomy, you're miserable often, and that can be the situation you're in could be synonymous with being a slave, but it's not the same as actually being a slave where you have no autonomy of your own.
All right, I'm going to throw it out there. It's called marriage.
Yeah, marriage, you have no autonomy.
I mean, just because some situation might lead you to an analogous state where your personal situation might feel similar to though you are enslaved, it's still not the same.
Well, and marriage is a contract, and if you're going to look at it in that way, you could call it mutual enslavement.
Sure.
Well, you've never been with any of the girls I've dated.
No.
Yeah, it's one-sided slavery. We're indebted to them.
Hold on.
No, but I sure would want to be with some of the
hold on,
girls
Steve.
you've
Hold
been
on.
with.
Jay, we have to go here. How do you know?
Oh, okay.
What?
Because that would be awfully bizarre. I mean, there's a chance we might be attracted to the same person, but that person is attracted to both of us simultaneously is... I guess
somebody left from one of my, like the last hangout we had. Somebody left. Who is this Jake Herder? He is so pretty. He's so pretty. I'm like, oh, okay. That's why I make these videos. Yes, okay.
Well, I am a functional narcissist, so
you're not conceited. You're fucking convinced.
No, I did like that quite a bit.
Yeah, you know, I didn't delete it, so. Yeah, Narc, I just looked at my, I got a break in my game, so I took a sneak peek at my live feed, and Narky's like, the Scientology Sea Org signed a 1 million year contract. That is actually true.
Billion.
1 billion.
It's a billion. Yeah, I'm sorry, it isn't true. It is a billion-year contract. Yeah.
And I think multiple needs to be whatchamacallit,
Shown.
Casted broad.
Sorry, I'm back.
I've tried to delve into this a little bit, okay? So they believe in past lives. They believe in an infinite reincarnation, okay? So the billion-year contract is to serve a billion years in your lives to come.
Right,
so
right.
I wanted to know if I could just go to them and say, you know, I was in the Sea Org last lifetime. I was, you know, a class 12 CS OT7, and I would like all my shit back, please.
Yeah, they say you got to like start from the beginning each time, I guess.
Yeah, David Miscavige got rid of all that past life and things like that, and he's actually having people as high as OT8s redo like purification rundown and TRs and all that.
Because somebody probably pulled it on him.
Actually, if you go to the Scientologist,
money.
No, they make.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, if you have to do the whole OT program all over again, right? It's like, oh yeah, buy these books again. You got to go through this whole shit all over again.
Well, it's because they've upgraded the books. When they upgrade the program, people have to do it all over again and pay all over again.
Here's the most beautiful part of that. Okay, so
it's like doing an MCP with Microsoft.
The books are supposed to be inerrant. Okay, their source is L. Ron Hubbard, but David Miscavige said that people who translated for him and who he dictated to were suppressive people who got things wrong. They had commas at different places, and through his, work, his magnanimous work, redoing all this fully on source, he has re-released the basics. But about 10 years earlier, they spent like $1 billion putting all of L. Ron Hubbard's works on these gigantic gold titanium discs, sealed into these titanium barrels covered with Kevlar, buried underground in a gigantic vault, and all of those are the old books. So they would actually need to go in and change $1 billion worth of gold-plated scripture because David Miscavige changed a few commas and semicolons so he could resell all the books to the members again.
How these people buy into this is beyond me.
But look on the bright side. They are recyclable material.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point. He put $1 billion worth of gold and titanium in the ground like a bank, but used a religious excuse.
Well, he's a con man, just like the young Earth tradition. And it's not. And to me, there's very little difference.
Hold on a second. These discs are in a bunker somewhere, aren't they? And they're all covered up and sealed.
Mm-hmm.
And did anybody outside of his little inner circle actually see those discs go in and get sealed inside that little Kevlar box thing?
Not that I know of.
All right, let's not go asking those questions because we're running down rabbit holes.
Yeah, but my point
we're getting into
is
magic
that
hat territory.
People
Yeah,
ask,
I'm just saying is you build a bunker, that's what, a couple $100,000 maybe?
At least,
you know, you buy a Kevlar box, you stick it in there.
but the younger creationists, you know, they wonder how we wonder how they think, how they're so stupid, right? And then all you guys just point out, you know, to them Scientology, and they're like, oh, well, Scientology is bullshit. Well, they don't seem to understand there isn't any much difference. There really isn't.
No,
this is fucking retarded.
Well, Scientology preys on the weak and the needy.
Absolutely.
It does.
Yeah, which is
no
what
functional narcissists in Scientology.
And the rich and gullible.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too, because people want to be special, and that's why you know, L. Ron Hubbard had that whole celebrity center thing to attract celebrities, because at the celebrity center you were treated really, really well.
Well, that's why there's two parts of Scientology. There's the normal Scientology for everybody, and then there's one for the celebrities. It is not the same thing.
There are three.
No, it's not. It's not. They did stuff like they actually grew a wheat field so that Tom Cruise
and Nicole Kidman. It was a wildflower field.
It was wildflower. Okay, wildflower. But they actually grew it so that they could like romp through it.
And David Miscavige didn't like it at first, so it had to be killed and redone.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Jake, but Tom Cruise never actually did go to it, did he?
No, he did.
He finally did?
They're videotaped.
I know they redid it. He didn't like it the first time, so they completely redid it. And it was all slave labor, as you pointed out.
Absolutely. There are three different kinds of Scientologists. There's a public Scientologist, which would be like you or me. If we went down there, we would start taking courses, move up the bridge, and they would treat us however based on our amount of money. Then there's a celebrity Scientologist who gets what they call love bombed. Okay, and they get the best Scientology experience they actually could possibly have. They'll even have people like follow the celebrities around to make like serendipitous events kind of happen for them.
And I bet it's pretty awesome too.
Sure it is. And then there's a third kind, which is a staff or a Sea Org member who are the slave labor. And there are so many horrific stories. There's so many tears in that. It is, and the fact that it's just running in plain sight and operated by a single man just fascinates me to no end, honestly.
Well, not only that, some of L. Ron Hubbard's friends, who are also, you know, science fiction, speculative fiction writers, have said that he deliberately just made the whole thing up.
Oh yeah, him and Isaac Asimov and what's the other guy, Heinlein? They all made. They said, okay, who can write the best science fiction religion? Like one wrote Dune, one wrote Dianetics, and I'm trying to remember what the other one was, but obviously
Foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Foundation trilogy.
Actually, I think it was it. Yeah, it was a trilogy.
Yeah,
I remember.
There's actually, I think, 5 books.
I think they added more. Yeah. He wrote the trilogy, and I think they wrote more. But anyways, if you ever read Foundation series, oh my God, is that a brilliant fucking
it's fantastic.
Just fantastic.
Probabilistic mathematics taken to the max.
But the whole thing started, you know, as just a story. That's all it was meant to be.
Oh, Dianetics?
Yeah.
So much trouble. He got in so much trouble. I forget the exact story, but he ended up having to live on his boat. Basically,
no. I got this. Okay, so
you got the whole thing. Okay, good.
Okay, so he comes back from the war, and he says that he has all these injuries, even though he only has ulcers and conjunctivitis. And he uses these auditing techniques, which are just communication drills, and he starts treating himself with them. Okay, so he decides that there's two halves of your mind, the analytical side and the reactive side. The analytical side being a perfect computer, and the reactive side containing all of your bad memories, which he calls engrams. Okay, and he says that going through your mind and rediscovering all your engrams and fully rationally confronting them, you can eliminate them. Okay, and then once you've eliminated all of your engrams, you reach the state of clear, where you've gotten rid of your reactive mind. He uses an electropsychometer or a skin galvanometer, which is called an e-meter, which measures a galvanic skin response in your hand. Okay, so if I talk about a stressful event, the needle will move. But the more I talk about a stressful event, I'll get more calm about it and the needle will stop moving. So we're talking about a car accident. I recount the story a 20th time to you and the needle stops moving. Now you say, okay, I've gotten rid of that engram. Once we've done that for my whole life and then even past lives, I've attained the state of clear. Okay, so he believed if he was just a con man, when Dianetics took off before he lost the rights to it, he would have just taken the money and run. But he kept delving into it. He kept doing these self-treatments. He did eventually lose the rights to Dianetics and redub it Scientology. And one of his partners bought the rights and eventually sold it back to him. He was being chased by the FBI, so he bought 3 vessels, one of them being the Apollo, and he went out to sea in the Mediterranean. He was eventually, banished out of every port, and everybody was after him. So in the middle of the night, he came back to Daytona and started Flag Land Base. One last thing is, so clear is when you've completely erased your reactive mind, okay? But he wanted to get more and more levels. So you don't only have your own reactive mind, you have the reactive mind of hundreds or thousands of ancient alien beings that are attached to your bodies. So he says, 75 million years ago, a galactic overlord who was the head of 76 planets in a galactic confederation named Lord Xenu had an overpopulation problem of 176 billion people.
Jake, if you're going to say it, it's Xenu. Come on, do it right.
Galactic overlord.
You're talking about a galactic overlord here. You got to do it right.
Okay, here, I'll start over.
Have you ever been a galactic overlord? No, you have not, so come on.
76 million years ago, the galactic overlord Xenu had a problem of overpopulation of 176 billion people per planet. He brought them in ostensibly for tax audits and froze them and transported them to the prison planet Tegeac, where he put them in volcanoes and destroyed them with hydrogen bombs. The souls of the aliens were released into the atmosphere, where he collected them with an electronic ribbon and brought them to a 3D supercolossal motion picture theater for 36 days and gave them implants. When they were released from the theater, they became clusters of thetans, thousands of them. And when we're born, they attach themselves to our thetan. Now, when we get to OT3, we learn self-auditing, where we can go through our mind and discover our own body thetans and banish them, where they may reincarnate as an individual. Eventually, if everybody does this enough, all of the body thetans will become individuals and everybody will be happy again.
And yet, it's funny, that is still more plausible than young earth creationism.
I got a question then.
Yeah, spot on. That's
one
really
moment here, Steve.
Yeah.
If the thetans are attached to one person's body thetan,
no,
and then when this stuff gets cleared off and get reincarnated as another person, then do they have thetans attached to their body thetan too?
There might be body thetans that attach.
Because eventually this will all, everything will get all fixed and everyone will be...
That's the goal, right. Yeah. Universally.
And how long will this take?
Approximately 127 billion years just to clear the state of Florida.
Yeah, so it's a long time.
Okay. So someone has actually done the math.
Yeah.
So how many thetans then did Xenu throw into the volcano?
176 billion people per planet were, so he got rid of about 70% of each times 76.
Okay.
That's several trillion people. It's a lot.
All right, just check it.
Cosmology, the universe is about 5 quadrillion years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the time you get to OT8, you realize that you yourself are actually God.
And you're jumping on Oprah's couch.
You gave them the big reveal.
No, Tom Cruise is not OT8. Get your facts straight.
Oh, sorry. What is
I don't think half of them made it past OT7. So
yeah.
And you know what you need to do to get to level 9?
It doesn't exist. Great, that's good.
Well, no, you don't know that.
Bunker.org or CNU.net, and you read all of it for free. There was a very brave man named Sean Lonsdale who ran around with a sign to Scientology conventions that says OT128 for free at Xenu.net. But they think that if you don't go through the prerequisite steps to get to clear an OT1 and 2, that reading the OT3 material will actually cause you to go insane, go into something called freewheeling, where you'll stop sleeping and you'll eventually die of pneumonia. So most people, Scientologists, they say if you try to show them the OT3 material, they will refuse to accept it because they don't want to fucking die of pneumonia. And OT8, apparently, you will spontaneously combust. If
because
I'm sorry, people. This is not the Necronomicon here.
They say that you don't have the training to be able to handle the information in there. That's why, right?
What,
and
the truth? You can't handle the truth?
Oh, you have to be. They have to tell you how to interpret the truth, right? That's what the whole point of the training things are, the training program. So yeah, you can't.
And here we thought Mormons
insane.
And here we thought Mormons were weird.
I like that.
No, their stuff was just translated in a hat with a magic rock, okay? And
so, that's at least based upon. But that's at least based upon biblical shit, right? There are rocks.
But if you go deeper into their theology, they have like a train that takes you to a planet that you get to own.
No, Club was with God.
But this is how far they go in Scientology.
There's a breastplate called the Urim and Thummim, right?
Oh, I know.
So there is at least some basis for that. It wasn't like
it is all based on something,
right?
Okay. And if you look at the time period, like with Mormonism, why they talk about planets, and as Jake just mentioned, a train. Those were things that people at that time had. They knew of planets out there. They had fucking trains.
I don't remember anything about a train, but whatever.
Okay. I'll look it up. Let me try to find it.
Yeah. But then if you look at Scientology, what Jake just described as Scientology, this is post-World War II, hydrogen bombs. The artwork of these spaceships look like DC-10s.
Yeah, I know. That's one thing you didn't.
I'm just saying, it all comes out of stuff that you're familiar with.
Xenu, when he took the people to help depopulate, he transported them to volcanoes via these things that look exactly like DC-10s.
Well, rocket engines, but yeah.
The Boeing, I guess, had a hand in it or something.
They were DC-8s. Okay.
Oh, sorry, DC-8s.
Was it DC-8s?
Sorry, DC-8s.
Here's the other thing that's crazy about them. So it's supposed to be several light years away is the Galactic Confederation, but they were transported to Earth in 7 days.
On a DC-8.
On a DC-8. Light years
with
away.
Rocket engines.
With rocket engines.
Well, you know what's funny is we've never had a Scientologist.
Was there an in-flight movie?
We've never had a Scientologist come in here and actually talk about Scientology, which is weird because
on the internet.
What they used to be, though, right? I mean, that used to be the big thing. They would go in and they'd actually try to get into these groups and be invasive in the group and not even tell people they're Scientologists to try to collect data on people.
But that was in like BBS and things like that.
BBSs and the
IRS.
What's the other thing? The
IRC.
IRC. Thank you. And so I know they kind of get away from that and they tell their members don't do it. But still, I mean, we've never had one. That's odd.
But this is how far the Scientology organization will go. If you go to their HQ in the UK, which is a really beautiful place,
Saint Hill.
Yeah, it's down in West Sussex.
Saint Hill Manor.
Yeah, and they've got a car there in a garage, in an air-conditioned, climate-controlled garage, and it's actually Ron Hubbard's car.
Oh, you don't even know the half of it. Every single major base, what is it? Copenhagen, New York, Los Angeles, Florida, everywhere they have an office for L. Ron Hubbard.
Oh yeah, I've seen the office. I've seen the office in the UK.
So he's supposed to come back, isn't he? I mean, he's supposed to return.
In 1986, David Miscavige made a message that to do his next research of OT, he had to drop the body and move to Target 2 because the body is an encumbrance for the research of the next stage of OT.
But again, going back to the card, as I say, this is how I got. There was a project in the Scientology community to find Ron Hubbard's car because it had been lost. So they'd had pictures of it, and they scoured the world. I'm not joking. This took a long time to find. It was like 15 years or something to find this car in South Africa. So they have then bought it from South Africa back to the UK, and I can't remember whether it's a Jaguar or Rover. I think it's a Jaguar. I think it's
a Land Cruiser.
How did it get to South Africa?
It had basically been sold in the UK. Someone had driven it on the continent, then it had gone across to North Africa.
Oh,
then
it got sold off and sold off.
Yeah,
and they just kept tracking it down with its VIN number and record.
No,
sales
no.
record.
It was literally they were just looking around and someone found a photo. Someone in South Africa, Scientologist, found a photo of a
So
car.
you just walked
that was
around with a piece of paper with a picture of the car and says, "Have you seen this car?" It's not a puppy, people. It's a car. There's faster ways of finding it.
And then they've restored it back, and it is absolutely mint. It is a beautiful car. It's quite a while since I was there. I know it's sort of like a red, burgundy red color. And
that Lincoln, I think.
It's a British car, I know that.
Oh, okay, never mind. Maybe it's a Spider. Sorry.
Yeah, they were, but the amount of money they must have spent restoring the car. But then once they've restored the car, they built this garage around the car, and it was climate controlled. You go in through a double door airlock to keep it climate controlled. But once a week, it's taken out and driven to put about 15, 20 miles on it to keep it running nicely. Taken back to the garage where it's then fully worked on, maintained, put back together, made lovely again, and so it goes on.
The most crazy thing about Scientology to me is L. Ron Hubbard insisted that this was a religion, and he refused to pay taxes. And the IRS declined giving them 501c3 in 1967 because of obvious inormment. So in the 1980s, after Hubbard died, they faced $1 billion back tax bill, and they only had a quarter of that liquid. So it was a life or death moment. They needed to get tax exemption or the church was done. What happened is David Miscavige had individual Scientologists and private investigators sue individual IRS agents over 2,400 times. And the lawsuits just kept coming in and kept coming in and kept coming in. And they communicated to the commissioner of the IRS, something Goldberg, basically, if you give us 501c3 tax exemption, all of these lawsuits will go away. And he was basically like, really? Will you stop fucking suing us if we let you get 501c3? And it happened in 1991. He announced that they got the $1 billion tax debt given away and all that shit. And since then, they've grown from $250 million to at least $5 billion and have tax-free prime real estate in every city in the world.
Well, Europe.
No, hold on. That's provided the other countries give them status for that.
How come other countries didn't give them status and they weren't intimidated?
They lost their status in, I think, was it France?
France and Germany.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And they never got the status in Canada because our rules for that are different.
Yeah.
Yeah, overseas is much different.
From the United States is enough to finance everything else.
Yeah, I thought they were actually not making that much anymore, but they've got so much in reserve they can go another couple decades and not even have to worry about it.
They have so much money that just the interest they're paid off the amount of money they have is something like $500 million a year.
Amazing.
Yeah. Their membership is winnowing at a pace that is staggering. They have less members that identify as Scientologists in the United States than identify as Rastafarians. And they have more money than you could possibly imagine. And they pay their workers less than $50 a week. And it's in plain sight.
Yeah, so I mean, they really don't need to get membership at this point, but I mean, it's not completely self-sustaining. I mean, eventually they're going to have to. They will eventually run out of money.
They don't have to pay property tax in the United States. They made a building in Florida next to the Fort Harrison called the Superpower Building. It cost them about $80 million to build and took about a decade, but they raised over $240 million to build that building, and they don't pay taxes on it.
Yeah, they have one down here too called Base Alpha, Gold Base Alpha.
Yeah, that's the gold base to the int base. It has Bridge Publication and Golden Era Productions, and it's 550 acres.
That's nice. I live like not too far from it. Yeah.
Honestly, if you would go and take a picture of any one of those for me, I would be absolutely elated.
I don't get down there often, but next time I'm by there.
Well, I mean, when you get a chance. I mean, if you're ever actually next to it.
Yeah, no, I've driven by it quite a few times. I don't drive that much nowadays, but yeah, I mean, it's probably about 30 miles if I had if I really wanted to go to it.
Yeah, they just disgust me and fascinate me to like no end. It's just So fucking weird. That's the thing.
Well, I mean, I only fight so many battles, right? I'm very much against Scientology, right? And everything you said is spot on, correct, no question. But we don't have any in our community, so that's why I really don't get too much into Scientology, because we don't have anybody promoting Scientology. We have people promoting young Earth creationism. So
I actually wanted to become a Scientology Poe, you know, and go debate the young Earth creationists with Scientology.
That would be kind of funny.
I think it would be really funny.
You know, the irony of them is like, oh, you're a Scientologist. You're stupid. You know, well,
I can give them
7,000 years old. How smart are you?
As sophistic as theirs, and if mine's just sound better, I'll win the argument. That's their whole shtick.
Yeah, but see, the problem is you guys have a recognizable voice that I don't think you can get away with it too easily.
Oh no, no, I'll be totally blatant. You know, I'll just be like, no, I've converted to Scientology. This is all true. You know, and
I'll just my lord.
Be as sophistic as fucking you possibly could imagine.
I like a good sophistry.
Yeah, yeah. Or I'll just make a sock and do it.
Well, anyways, I didn't want to have too long of a hangout. I don't know. I think all of a sudden people started joining us, so I might keep this open a little bit longer if people are interested. I mean, we got about
sorry, I derailed Scientology.
No, that's fine. No big deal. It's just like I said, I don't get too much on Scientology because we don't have anybody really advocating for it. We actually have almost 50 people watching, but you know, I do want to make more videos against young Earth creationism. I want to make videos, not to the level Paul's making them, because that's what he's good at. That's what he does. But I want to increase my video production somewhat. And
no, yours are getting significantly better.
It's just it's each step in the learning process, right? Of what works, what doesn't work, and so.
Well, I watched the one that you made, your most recent one this morning. Like as soon as I woke up, I saw it and I watched it, and I thought it was awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it really is a good synopsis of what has transpired, what he has claimed. And of course, he'll try to get out of it and say, oh, Steve misrepresented my position again. Well, holy fucking, I mean, how can I misrepresent his own words when he says specifically that it breaks this bond or it breaks that bond? I mean, let's be realistic here. Eventually, you got to realize, people, that he's lying through his ass off. The Clown Car Posse members need to recognize this. And I will ask them eventually. I'll get Tommy Hollander to hang out again and say, Tommy, what's going on with your boy here? Do you still, well, I never really agreed with him, but he just kind of pleaded the fifth. So it's like, Ronnie, I mean, Tommy, do you really want to be on the fence anymore? I mean, because being on the fence right now is just as stupid as actually agreeing with him. Because if you're too dumb to understand what's going on, then, there's a problem here. Because it's
like being on the fence about the stork theory.
Teach the controversy.
Teach the controversy. Babies are from storks. That one?
Yeah. You've seen the stork, haven't you?
Teach the controversy.
Teach the controversy. Teach the controversy.
It's so funny that they actually think that some of the stuff is controversial, and it's like, no.
Think about it. They want to push creationism into a science classroom as to how the Earth is created and how things evolved, as a counter theory to evolution. So why don't we have a counter theory to reproduction? The stork did it.
Yeah, well, why not?
There's our counter theory. Reproduction is just a theory.
It's just an explanation, right? It explains it how to babies.
In some U.S. states, this is how it works, right, Jade?
It's a viable explanation, right? I mean, you can't prove that storks.
You can't just prove it. There's storks everywhere.
Yeah,
if we're going to have a counter to the scientific theory, the biological theory of evolution, why should it be the Christian version? Shouldn't we treat all of them equally? Shouldn't we look at the Hindu creation theory? What about, this is America, right? What about the various native creation myths? Shouldn't we be teaching them? Shouldn't they get equal time?
How about the flood story of the Popol Vuh? I mean, that's the flood story.
How about the Norse creation myth? Where you basically chop up the body of a giant and have a cow lick some ice and milk, and
wasn't that the runoff? The blood of the giant runs off, this ice giant or something like that?
Yeah. There's like a cow licking ice and stuff to melt ice, and there's milk, and
so the Norse mythology.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the way our laws go is that you cannot favor one religion over another. That is really basic to the Constitution. So if we're going to start teaching the controversy in class, if someone says, "Hey, I want the Norse myth taught, I want the Greek myths taught, I want oh no, let's go back to Egypt, let's treat that a myth taught," and then you can't single one out. And these people they think they're so special. They think that Christianity has this hallowed place in American life, and that it will somehow therefore be exempt from the other rules.
Yeah, but Jade, it says so on the money.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they only added that in the 1950s because of communism. It didn't always say that in the money. Christianity only says in God we trust. It doesn't say which God. I mean, it could be Allah. It could be Poseidon.
It could be Ganesh.
Yeah, it could be Ganesh. It could
Yeah,
be
Ganesh.
Odin.
Fuck Ganesh.
Oh, come on, Ganesh
Odin,
is
though.
fun.
Ganesh is one of the cool
Could be
Hindu gods. He's
Loki.
got the elephant
I think
head.
it's Loki.
Hey,
Loki's far more
you've seen that meme, haven't you? Odin swore he'd get rid of the ice giants. Seen any ice giants lately?
Yeah, I love that meme actually.
I mean,
seen any ice giants
where are
lately?
the ice giants? Yeah. So let's go Odin. But they don't think things through. It's the same with a lot of other laws, like concept of personhood for a fertilized egg. They don't seem to think these things through, or they have some magical answer to your questions about that. Like, if you're going to call a fertilized egg a person and give it rights, well, you've got a real problem, given that about at least 50% of fertilized eggs pass through a woman's body without the woman even knowing she's pregnant. So does that mean that we have people ending up in sewers and in landfills on sanitary pads and tampons? If you're going to give them rights, you're going to have to give them rights all the way down the line. And when you bring this up to people, they go, "Oh, but that's natural." That's not the argument, dumbass. If a fertilized egg is a person with a whole bunch of rights, and I'm not one of these people who's going to say, "Well, does he get the right to vote?" Because clearly it would be a minor, and minors have a different set of rights. But if you're going to give it full rights, then you have to give it to all fertilized eggs, right? You can't.
Oh, Jade, you just hit on it. It's a minor, right?
Right.
And as a minor,
Freddie,
who looks after you as a minor?
Agers. Oh, I mean, parents.
Your parents. And who takes care of your medical needs as a minor?
State.
No, your parent.
The government.
Stop that.
Okay.
Aliens.
You follow where I'm going?
That.
You follow where I'm going with this, Jade? So if having the child would not be healthy, then going to see a doctor to do something about it. Is anybody following along? Let them have their argument. They just shot themselves in the foot.
Not quite seeing the logic.
As the parent, you provide you're responsible for the health care of the child by taking them to the doctor for medical needs. So if the child is sick, you have to go take the child to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it's a fertilized egg. Now, if you want to go down the abortion line, that would be a medical procedure performed on the child.
But then that would be a medical procedure that terminated the life of the child.
Right. But see, I'm also making the argument that if the pregnancy went to term, life would be worse for the child than if that was to happen.
Or how about this? What if the child is brain dead?
Exactly.
You have the right to pull
so
the plug.
they can make their argument saying that the fertilized egg is a person and has rights. Yes, but then we'll apply the rights as a minor to it, not as an adult.
Well, of course, because a fertilized egg could not have the rights of an adult.
Right.
just like a child does not have the rights of an adult. There's a different set of rights. Minors, and they are subject to the authority of adults, specifically the parents, or in the old days, as a joke, it was referred to as the parental units, which in a way I actually prefer that term, because a parental unit could be an aunt or an uncle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
well,
yeah,
it broadens the scope of who is the guardian or parent.
Right. Yeah. So the guardians, or the parents, or the parental units, whatever you want to say, are the ones in charge of the minors, with the exception, of course, being if they are not acting in the best interests of the minor, in which case that's when the state can step in.
But therefore, if the fertilized egg, if the abortion was chosen, that might be in the best interest of the child. If what you said, like say the child would be born brain dead, or have a genetic disease, which would make life very difficult later in life after birth, then yeah, that would be in the best interest.
Well, that's an interesting argument, I suppose, could be made. But I would rather,
put an end to the stupidity.
Yeah, but it's just but because I say, like in Texas, what were they trying to say, that if you do an abortion, you're still going to have to essentially have a funeral, not literally the
stupid. That's fucking ridiculous.
Well, not literally the having a casket, but you have to have some sort of
burial
service or burial, a formal burial. But again, that doesn't make any sense, because you're going to have to save the menses of every woman who on the planet and have formal services or burial for it. It's not going to work.
Not think this stuff through, or what?
Yeah, no, I mean, are women going to have to save all their sanitary pads, all the toilet paper they use? Probably even the water in the toilet. Any underwear that gets soiled. I mean, you've got to be fucking kidding me, because we're talking about one cell. Well, one little cell, or maybe
like I said, one cell is not a human. We've already established this. Even P.Z. Myers, an embryologist, said it's not a human. It's ridiculous.
Right. And from a religious point of view, we have, what makes a human is the soul. I mean, in the religious sense, the spiritual sense, is the soul. Because you can't tell me that there's, I don't think anyone would argue that there's half a soul in an egg and the other half of the soul in a sperm. I don't think anyone would argue that. So what counts is the soul. And nobody has any religious, there's nothing in the Bible that tells you when the soul enters the body. Historically, they didn't think that even not just in Christianity, but in the ancient Greeks and others who, non-Christian folk, they didn't believe that there was a person there in any sense until either quickening, which is when the baby started to move, or when it was fully formed. Now that part could be a little bit questionable. What do you mean by that? Because even though you look at fetuses at a certain stage, they do look, rather human. But I think a lot of you have probably seen the meme where they have the fetus of the and it looks like a human fetus. I once put up a picture that had several, and I said which one's human, because you can't tell. They all look humanish.
Yeah, most mammalian embryos pretty much look similar, are they not?
Right. Well, there are some exceptions with
sure, but many of them do.
Right, with predators, because like dogs more than cats have a snout, and the snout becomes kind of pronounced earlier, and that will set them aside from us. But elephants don't have that, so an elephant fetus looks a lot like a human fetus. So just because something looks like something doesn't mean it's something. The same people that a fetus looks human at a certain age, therefore it's human, are the same people who argue that we can't be related to monkeys even though we look like monkeys.
Yeah, the irony, right?
We look
like monkeys, but we're not monkeys, and yet they want to use the same argument that these cells look alike, but they're different.
Right, and we don't even look that human. I posted something recently to a guy who I think he just died recently, who did these magnificent photos of human fetal development. And when you look carefully at these fetuses, again, you have these people going, oh, but it looks human, and you have this anti-abortion groups giving out these little tiny plastic babies. I don't know if you've seen that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Look, this is what
you
the
can
baby
actually
looks
buy
like.
them in bags of 100.
But those aren't anatomically accurate. When you actually look at the fetus at a certain stage, it isn't that anatomically accurate. They will show the fetus with little fingers when in fact they've got like a mitt. It's like, because it's all webbed and it doesn't look like fingers. They aren't distinguished yet. They're all in a web.
Jade, you want to have some fun? You start a company who makes those little plastic fetuses. However, you don't make human fetuses. You make elephant fetuses, and then sell them to the anti-abortion people. And then when they run around and do this, you get to sit back and laugh because those are elephant fetuses.
That would be funny.
But like I said, they're altering what a fetus actually looks like. Like I said, you've got this. They'll show these little fingers, except if you look at the real fetus, it's a mitt. It's like a flipper. But when they show the picture, they take out the webbed part. They make it look like there's real fingers there. There were some very famous billboards that people were using. I think it was on the side of a truck or something that they would drive up and, this is what abortion looks like. And it turns out that was all photoshopped and not even remotely correct. And we've seen people here do these, how terrible abortion is, hangouts and videos, and the horrible pictures and stuff that they're showing aren't of abortions but of miscarriages.
Yeah, and like all of us were under the impression that an abortion was a totally awesome looking thing in the first place.
Right.
Yeah, it's like rainbows just shoot out of there.
Yeah, but it's really offensive. And there's several women on here who pointed that out. To women who've actually had miscarriages, it's very painful, for them to. And I've talked to them, and we've, in hangouts, and they've made comments about this before. That what you're doing is you're putting up pictures of miscarriages there. You're not putting up. You're putting up. In one case, they actually tracked down the picture, and the woman who's had the miscarriage was really upset that they were doing this, because this is a period in her life.
I take it the miscarriage would be done at a hospital, not at a family planning clinic type thing.
Which is also how people who know what miscarriages are could tell that these were miscarriages, because there was very about the picture.
But where do you get the photo of it, and why is there a photo of it?
The photo could be for various different reasons.
Okay.
In some cases, there was this woman that was virulently anti-abortion, right? And she was actually going to, like, I don't want to say the word dumpster, that's not quite correct, but anyway, because you don't normally throw human tissue into a dumpster, but you do throw it in a receptacle. She was retrieving these things from out back where they were ready to be picked up, digging through their trash, looking for fetal remains, taking them home, putting them like on a table and taking pictures. That's where a lot of these things have come from, this woman.
Well, these people that advocate this kind of stuff, anti-abortion, whatever, I mean, they believe the ends justify the means. Literally, I don't think they care about, having an honest conversation or honest dialogue. I think they don't give a shit what the reasoning is. It's all for effect. It's all for an emotional appeal. They don't care about the ramifications of the people that look at this and bring back memories of their own miscarriages and stuff like that. They don't give a shit. They're so disinterested in actual, how it affects people, because they have such an ideological agenda that everything else isn't important. And I think it's disgusting.
The fact that this woman was stealing this tissue, and then taking pictures of it, and these are, as far as I know, they're actually mostly, if not all, miscarriages. Although you run into a sort of a technical problem here, because a miscarriage is actually a spontaneous abortion.
Correct.
And in many cases, a miscarriage might start, and the physician has to finish it. A woman starts to lose the fetus, but it doesn't completely release, and then a physician has to go in and do a D&C to kind of scrape the inside of the uterus and remove the rest of the tissue. So, there could have been, let's put it this way, it could have been a miscarriage, but with some physician intervention.
Okay.
Natural process. So,
but if people like Antonio don't understand those kind of things, right?
No,
they don't understand sometimes the D&C must take place. I mean, and they don't care. They to them it's such a black and white issue that they're not even willing to concede or understand. There's a lot more to it than they're making it out to be. They're so simplistic.
And in a D&C, you're taking a scalpel and you're going inside and you're scraping the inside of the uterus. And they have to be very careful to do this, but they have to get all the tissue out or it could cause an infection. In the process of a D&C, a fetus can get dismembered. And so you see some of these pictures, fetus parts. This could simply be the result of a D&C. D&Cs are also done, and so are some various other methods, when the fetus is dead. And no, they don't come out nice and neatly. They only the child only comes out in one piece, generally, if you've got the pushing and the releasing from the inside, from the releases from the uterine wall and then comes out. If the fetus dies, it's still attached to the uterine wall. You got to go in there and scrape it out. And you may have to take it out in pieces. And that's not going to look awful.
What does D&C stand for?
And curettage.
Okay, sorry, Pseudo.
That's okay. You have to dilate.
There was something I read about, again, with what you're talking about, a miscarriage or a stillborn.
Mm-hmm.
I actually read this to somebody right off of a website where it details what's going on in the procedure, because the photos of what you're talking about.
Right.
It has to do with why the head always looks like it's been cut into pieces.
Right.
And literally it's because you don't have the pushing and they have to cut it to, I don't want to use just to use the word, like to deflate the skull to basically get it out.
Well, the human...
It does move, but because you don't have the, like you said, you don't have the pushing, it's not coming out.
And you don't have the woman's body adapting to it. And that's the best way I could put it. So yes, you know, the human...
You got to make the part small enough to fit through the hole.
Exactly.
Well,
and it's difficult enough.
That's why it's called dilation and curettage.
Yeah.
Exactly. Dilation and curettage. The curettage is the scraping, the cutting.
Opening. Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Our evolutionary history has left us with an extremely awkward birth. The baby, as it starts to come out of the canal, has to turn sideways and then come out. And there's an explanation for this, how this happened. If I posted a link a long time ago to I don't know, I can probably find it again, to how this happened. History, it has to do with us standing upright, because in monkeys and apes, the baby comes out real easy. The female of an ape or a monkey can literally reach around and grab the kid and pull it out. Do that because first of all, we've got these giant heads, but also because in our evolution to stand upright, things kind of rearranged inside to allow us to stand upright. It left us with this unfortunate situation of having the baby come down first to do it properly, right? The baby comes down, the head barely fucking fits in the canal, okay? Then it has to turn sideways, like 45 degrees or something, and then come out like that.
Yeah, if we were intelligent design, I think they could have done it better.
That is one of the worst designs ever. And it's not intelligent. And it's just an accident of our becoming upright.
Yeah,
really.
Benjamin points out due to bipedalism.
Right, due to bipedalism. Mm-hmm. And it's a terrible system. I sometimes, as you know, Jake said, that you've got to deflate the skull to get it out. And that sounds really awful, but it's the alternative is the woman's going to die. Or you do a cesarean, but that doesn't always work either, because if the baby's head gets stuck, the cesarean's not going to help. You can't get in there and yank it backwards. It doesn't work. You have to deflate the skull. And again, that sounds awful, but it's what has to be done to get the child out.
I think JD's having a hangout, Jade.
Oh, is he doing it now? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll go.
I
was just gonna.
I didn't want to keep this open too much longer. I wanted to keep it short.
Yeah, okay.
Who's doing a hangout?
So,
But
Jade, shut up! No.
Okay. Just one thing before I'm done. I belong to a Facebook group that is like a private group talking about. So, excuse me. I did post something from the group, but only because the woman said to spread this around. Talking about their abortions, the ones that were medically necessary. And if I almost wish I could compile these things, but I said it's a private group, and read them so they would understand a little bit more what's going on and why these things have to happen and why they have to happen in the second semester. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to go to JD's thing and
yeah, me too. Oh, in a minute here. But anyways, guys, yeah, I thank you for the input on it. I'm glad you guys did like this latest video. Like I said, I am trying to get better at making videos. It is a long, arduous process. I think the next one I will do will be that ETC. I think it'll be interesting. And then if you guys got ideas, let me know. And I still want to do a collab with somebody, somebody that really does understand video editing. And then Jake is donating a laptop to me, and hopefully I'll be able to just use that for doing videos. That's all I want to put on there. I basically want a bare bone and just put video shit on there. And
yeah, and
that works.
It's on the way.
Thank you. Thank you. I got your stuff. Yeah. And
yeah,
I'll get with you again on it for the reimbursement of the shipping. So
yeah, you can do that whenever. I don't care. And I also started the Patreon. Mine's only $2 a month, but whatever.
Oh, thank you. It's like I said, it's not the amount; it's the fact that people want to become Patreons is awesome to me, right? I mean, that's just still blows me away.
Yeah, and I was in the credits of that last video, which was sweet.
I had to do. Oh yeah, if anybody gives me $1, even if it's just one time, they get forever in my video credits. So if any of them do go viral, their names will be in there. And if I have not included your name because there's been so many, please let me know, and I will correct that error. I have a master's list, but obviously I might have made absent-minded and not put somebody in there. But yeah, if you just even give me $1, you'll forever be in there. So anyways, but thank you very much, guys. I think this, like I said, is the final nail in his coffin. I do think that there's really no way he can, with a straight face, ever tell anybody he didn't make all these claims and accusations, and that, of course, everybody else is wrong. Everybody else doesn't know what they're talking about. But this video is for the clown car posse that's to look at it and go, shit, this is exactly what happens. I can go validate this in any fucking chemistry book, any science book. I can go validate what Steve said. And has Ronnie been saying this all along? No, I mean, clearly not. Clearly he's said so many strange and inarticulate things that this is really just a collection of his claims, and then demonstrating what actually does happen as compared to what he has been claiming. But anyways, I'm gonna end the video. This hangout, I'll have one Friday. We're having one with General Han Solo and Floyd. I believe it's 5 o'clock Pacific, but I'm gonna have to get back to you on that. I don't remember. I still gotta get with them tomorrow to go over some of the more timing things that they had said they want to do. But don't forget that hangout will be on Friday, and it's gonna be very interesting. I can't wait to have it, and I'll see you guys then. So until then, shalom.